Hello and welcome to Circe Creek. Our mission is to empower you to create. This video will show you step by step how to create this beautiful peony and sunflower cascade wreath from our complete kit. So let's get creative. First of all, you unpack your box and you'll be able to see all the elements that you have. Unpack them according to groups because then you can see all of each element that you have and work together with that. You'll notice that you have some long viney things, a long stem of this seed pick with, see the long stem on it, a longer, much longer than the others, ficus branch, and choose one of the longest acorn branches. To go together, they will be the cascade part of the wreath, so you won't want to use these in the rest of the wreath. You want to set them aside so that they can be part of the cascade. So I'm going to put those aside. The very first thing you've got to do is find the part of the wreath that you want to be exposed, so the part that will show that isn't covered with leaves and flowers and things. Most wreaths don't come nice and round. Every once in a while you get one nice and round, but most of them don't when you buy them from the store. And so you've got to pick the part of the wreath that you think is the prettiest, that you want to be exposed, and the part that looks the roundest. It doesn't matter that it's not perfectly round. The rest of it will be covered with leaves and berries and things like that. So pick the part that you think the prettiest, and on this wreath, I mean, you can turn it over and look at both sides. I personally think that the part right here is the one that looks the roundest and that I want to show. I like the way that the vines twine here, and I just think this is the prettiest. This wreath is built with the exposed part from about 12 o'clock until about 6 o'clock, maybe 5. But so you want the pretty round nice part of it to be from 12 to 5, and then we will build the wreath over here, and this will be exposed. So put the wreath in front of you on your protected workspace. Make sure you do a protected workspace with a piece of cardboard, or it could just be a table that you don't care how it looks, but if it's your kitchen table, protect it. We start with ficus leaves. These are foundational leaves, and you have several bunches of them. So you take the bunches and you start to poke them into your wreath just at intervals. I start at the top and then another one at the bottom, a little further in than that. So you see 5 o'clock is exposed, and then you just build these around. And you want this to be kind of full, so I want another one here. And then the first long element for the cascade is the ficus leaf. And do you see how it goes way down below the wreath? Now, you're going to be poking it in along the side of the wreath. I'm going to pull this one out to show you. You're going to be poking it in here, but then you'll bend it to come down so that it comes kind of straight down from 6 o'clock. Then you can push this one back into place. Okay, I like that. I want to put this last one right in here for a little bit more green accent. So now, if you can see, this part of the wreath is exposed. This one will be built out to here, and it doesn't look quite round enough to me. It's too narrow. So take some of these and poke them out to the side rather than along the form of the wreath. That way, when you build the flowers and the other leaves onto it, you will be creating more of a round look. Sometimes you have to compensate for the shape of the wreath by putting the leaves in a little different place than you normally would. So, but that makes it nice and round here. So this is good. I like this. Now, attaching all of these, you can do it one of two ways. You can either pull the stem completely out, cover it with glue. You can do that with a glue gun right here, covering it with glue like this, or you can dip it in a glue pot if you have one of those. and then stick it back in where you had it before, or approximately where you had it before, trying to make as much contact with the vines in there as you can, because that's how it's secured. The other way you can do it is to pull the leaf or the stem out slightly, put some glue in around where the stem inserts into the wreath, and then stuff it back in. Either way is fine, just depends on what you like to do. I like to use my glue pot because it's a one-hand thing, so I just pull the stem out, cover the end of it, and then insert it back in. I feel like that's faster, and I like to do that. So insert all of your ficus leaves back in where you had them, or approximately where you had them, making good contact. Now the reason that you do this in steps is so that each layer gets secured firmly in place before you move on to the next layer. Otherwise, you'll have leaves that don't get secured, and they get kind of forgotten, and they can fall out. Okay, I like where everything is. Pick the strings off as you go. Hot glue always makes strings. Pick them off as you go. I'm going to move my clock now because we don't need it anymore. Okay, so the next thing after this is the ginkgo leaves. I like to add these ginkgo leaves because they give such a color and texture difference from the other things. We have 4 ginkgo leaves. One of them will be going down into the cascade. So I choose one of the longer. You usually have 2 longer and 2 shorter. And again, I'm going to poke it down here and then bend it so that it follows the path of the ficus one that you had on there before. So it needs to go right down in there. Eventually you may tuck it in behind or whatever, but right now it just needs to follow that path. Then I put another long one near the top, like that. And then these 2 shorter ones just fill in the area in between. And just like leaves grow in nature, they're not in an exact pattern, they're random. So we want it to be planned but random. So I really like how that's following this curve. So now I remove them one by one, or however you decide to secure them. Secure each one the way you like it. Now I'm going to tuck this one in behind the ficus leaves because I like them to kind of be tight into each other. And this one. Okay, I like that. I think that looks great. The next thing that we add in are the flowers. We begin with the peony. The big peony is the focal point of this whole arrangement. So, and the peony goes at about 10 o'clock. So what we poke it in, and just find a branch that you can poke it in so that it points a little bit down but a little bit forward as well. So about like there. Then the peony bud actually begins, it is the beginning of the cascade. It goes right down in here. So you will poke it in and bend it around so it's where you like it. I want it to be below the wreath, but not much below. So the beginning of the bud is just at the bottom of the wreath. I like that. Now the 3 sunflowers and their leaves. There they are. So each sunflower will have a leaf that's attached to it or that's with it. If it's attached, you can just add it in with it. Otherwise, you need to glue it in separately. The first one, I actually want to use a bigger one down here, and so I use a smaller sunflower up here behind and a little tiny bit above the peony. So back there, it's kind of tucked in behind it. Now the big one goes right here at about 7 o'clock. So just tuck that in. Make sure that the leaves are showing there. And then the third one goes right up here above the peony. Okay? These are the focal points. So they're the place that your eye moves to first, and then they follow this curve down here. Again, the leaves go by it, and so now I like those there. So now I'm going to glue them in place. Now you have to pull back the leaves and other elements so that you don't get glue all over them while you're doing this. Okay, then the leaves, I just put some glue on the leaves like this and tuck them in behind the sunflower and hold them to the base of the sunflower. Ooh, this is a place where you could burn your fingers. So, you know, try not to burn your fingers. And then this one, I just want to arrange these leaves so that they show. Okay, pull off your strings again. Okay, the next thing that we put on are the other fall leaves. These right here, we have 3 of these, and we have 2 maples, 2 of the red maples, and then some green maples. So the fall leaves, one of them, well, I don't want the longest one there. I want the longest one to come down here as part of the cascade. So, in order for it to not all look like one bunch coming down, you want to move it up a little bit further into the wreath so that it fills in this area. So it's a gradual curve down into the cascade. So it comes gradually down, not like this and then straight down. And this one can go up here as an accent, and this one I think I want it to be right in here because there's a lot of green and I want some color right in there. I like that. That looks nice. And then you have just 2 of these. They're bright and accent colors, so you want them to really show up. And because the bud, you may have a gold bud, you may have more of a rust colored bud, but put one of the red leaves underneath where the bud would be so that it really helps the colors pop like that. And then another one behind the other peony right there. So you have one under this peony and one underneath that one. Then these chartreuse ones, they are so bright and colorful. They need to fill in other areas that look kind of bland. So right here we've got a lot of gold and orange. I want a chartreuse one right there to make everything just pop. And then another chartreuse one. I want this one with the big leaves back here to be in front or behind the red maples, but to really bring out a lot of color. And then just a little one up here to a little further up. You see how the chartreuse ones just make all of the reds and oranges and everything else just pop out? I like that exactly like it is. So I'm going to glue those in. Now again, they get harder and harder to glue into place because you've got so many things around them to work into. So do your best to work these into the vines so that they're secure.
And lastly, this one. Almost forgot it. Okay. I like everything where it is now. Now there's only two things that are left. These seed heads and the Cascade viney things. Oh, three. And the acorns. So we're going to deal with the Cascade right now. You have one branch that is a vine. Now, when you do vines, vines don't grow straight really often. They curve around things. That's why they're vines, because they can curve around things and make themselves stick to things. So you want to kind of bend your vine around. It's going to go underneath the maple leaves, but above the ginkgo leaves. So you stick it right into there. And again, bend it down. These are all wired inside so they can be bent anywhere you want them. Bend that down. Then this long seed pod needs to go down there to bring some color down into the bottom. And again, under the maple leaves, put that down there. And oh, there's another viney thing. It doesn't show up very much because there's so much green in it. Okay, now I think there's too much distance between this bud and this because it looks awkward sticking out there all by itself. So I'm going to bring it up and stick it a little further in so that it blends more into the bud area. There we go. I want it just below that with some leaves above it to make it not look like it's just kind of sticking down there all by itself. And the bud there, and the maple leaves there. I like that. Okay, so you've got your Cascade coming down here. Now these other seed pods just get put in intervals around the rest of the wreath. Make sure or try to put contrasting colors together. So up here we have a lot of yellows. I'm going to put a red, the rust and maroon seed pod up there. I have another rust and maroon one down here. I want to add it right in here. Just add some color right down there. That's nice. And then you have the two yellow and white ones. I want to add one of those here. They're having a hard time going in far. There we go. One right in there. And I think I want one right out here by the chartreuse maple leaves. Okay. I like those. Now glue these in place. And then, once you have everything glued in place, the very last thing we add are these acorns. The acorns are a very natural looking thing, and they're not bright, so they don't draw your attention naturally to the wreath, but they're a nice little element that makes it look very natural. So you want to put them in places where they will be noticed. So in front of bright colors, or just at the ends of things, they get noticed at the end. I think I want one right there. I want one up at the very top right there. And then I'm going to put one right here because it's just leaves and stuff there, and I think it'll it'll make that pop. Okay, I like those. Now the acorns are heavy. They need extra glue, so you can put it around the stem and put it in, but you also should pull it back and pool some glue in at the stem and then stick it in a little further to make it really bond well. You don't want the weight of the acorn to pull it off when it's hanging on the wall or the door, especially on a door where the door swings back and forth and these can get jarred loose. So put it in, glue the stem, and again. Put it in and then pull it back and, ooh, this one's harder. Glue the stem right down into there. Okay, you have finished your wreath. I hope you love it. I think it's beautiful. This is one of my very favorites. What you can do at the end is kind of bend the wires to make everything go exactly where you want it. Fluff up the leaves because they get smashed down when we put layers on top of layers. You can wrap one kind of leaf on top of something else just to give it a more natural look, because nature doesn't just grow in layers, it has everything kind of mixed together. You can even secure things with glue, hot glue, so that things stay exactly where you want them. The last thing we do is we put the hanger on. Now if you like the placement of everything on the wreath, and this is 6 o'clock and you've got 12 o'clock up here, mark the 12 o'clock spot. Mine has a big bump up there at 12 o'clock. Yours may not, probably won't. So pull it up at 12 o'clock and put a wire in just at the top, just to mark the 12 o'clock spot. So it's just sitting there. Then flip the wreath over like this. Then take this wire, I'm going to zoom in. Okay, so take this wire, move it down about halfway down the body of the wreath, right there. And again, we're going this direction. Poke it in, and then with your pliers, that's one of the tools you needed, with your pliers, find the end of that wire. Now you can see the end of the wire is right under there. Find it, and before it gets too far in, pull it out so that it'll come out that side of the wreath. And there's the other half of the wire. Find it with your pliers. Needle nose pliers work, or these little pliers. Great big pliers don't work for this. So find the end of your wire. Now that one got stuck in a little bit more. Bend it up so that it's not going into the wreath. And then insert your wreath down, or your wire hanger down, so that it's just barely past the top of your wreath. You don't want it to protrude above, because then you'll be able to see it. But you need a little bit of space. So you have about an inch of the wire showing. Then push these wires up and to the outside. If this was an A, you're pushing these wires to the outside of the A, and then push the wire into the center of the A and pull it around like this, and then bend that and tuck it into the wreath. You want it to tuck in so that it can't scratch anybody or anything. So again, bend that around. This wire is a little long. I wanted you to be able to see it really well. Tuck it around there and pivot it so that it bends into the wreath, so that it curves around and bends into the wreath, so it's stuck there. So now you have the wire hanger, and you have your beautiful Cascade wreath with the wire hanger. Thank you for coming. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great time building your own wreath with this video.